Hello and welcome to today's episode of Human. Today I'm in conversation with Lesia, and she is a manifestation coach based in Dubai, originally from Russia. And we've got a really exciting conversation to be had today because we share the same heart for transforming people's lives. And when we say that, of course, they're doing the work. We are just alongside them as a sophrologist accompanying them and as a manifestation coach, working with them to help them really achieve what it is they want. Now, the skeptics amongst you will be saying, well, I can't just get what I want by imagining it. Well, the reality is that we can control our feelings. We can work towards the feelings that we really want. And of course, when we do, we also end up manifesting what it is we really want. Lesia and I know that this works because we've been doing this work for years. Lesia has a fantastic international client base, and she's going to share some of these testimonials as well as her own shortly. But we know as sophrologists that when we focus our attention on how we want to feel, not how we don't want to feel, we can get there. And the reason I think it's so important that we share this conversation is because we're coming at this from two slightly different angles. But something that Lesia and I come across almost on a daily basis is victim mindset. People who just lay back and say, I'm sorry, I just can't, Lindsey, because it's too hard. I can't because, I can't because, I can't because. And post-COVID, we know that this mindset has been rapidly accelerated by the threat that we felt to our own personal agency. Lesia and I battle against this. I think this is a daily problem with clients, Lesia, isn't it? And you're using the exchange method. I'm using sophrology to accompany people to get over this and step back into their personal power. Whether you're an individual just living their daily life, wanting things to change, or whether you're a CEO, head of a corporate, or working in a role where you're really affecting many, many people, it's incredibly important that you focus on what it is you want and not on what you don't want. So, enough from me. Lesia, would you please explain to our audience and our listeners how you became to be a manifestation coach in the beautiful, beautiful environment that you now work in?
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, first of all. And yes, our energies are so aligned because we both understand the main rule, the main law of nature, the main law of manifestation is what you focus on expands. That is why it's crucial to focus on what we want, and then it starts searching for us. What you seek for seeks you back. That is why, yes, our approaches are complementary. And the manifestation coaching which I help my students with is all about building the habits, building routine of habits which eventually bring them to where they want to go. However, the exchange method of manifestation which I am using, it's not so simple about building healthy habits. It's actually a very interesting way of manifesting what we want, of making the leap towards to the timeline where we receive what we want by one promise which we make to ourselves. And today we will discuss this technique together. And my way of becoming manifestation coach was after a breakdown, as it happens for so many of us, in the point of no return when we feel like we don't want anything anymore. And for me, it was when I was 19 years old. I opened my eyes and I saw and I felt with my heart that it was not my reality. I was heartbroken after a breakup with a person who I felt so anxiously attached to, so emotionally addicted to. And because I've had such high importance on relationships with someone who did not really even value my presence, who did not really even treat me the way I would love to be treated, because I had such high importance, it was removed from my life. The universe removes things which we put too high energy potential on, because the law of nature is balance. And at that moment it felt painful for me, and I was devastated. However, now I understand that it was a blessing, and it's one of the things, one of the keys how we block our own manifestations when we put too high importance on something. And the second block we put to our own manifestations is when we focus on the wrong thing, because we might want something, however, sometimes the reality might give us things which are the opposite. And that's what we will talk about today, how to not react on things we don't want to keep attracting.
I love that. Let's not react, because we all live in a place of reaction. And there's a line that says between an action and a reaction, there is a space or a gap. If we've shrunk that gap to nothing and there's things happening in the world and we're just reacting, we're just pouring out energy, focus onto things we actually don't want. And we're not talking about being, narcissistic and ignoring the universe, but we're talking about choosing what we focus our energy on. And when we don't choose, we just let the world run over us, we end up with this sort of very odd balance where we're not really getting what we want. We're just getting more of what we don't want. And we see that constantly, especially when people are really struggling with low mood and low energy. And often they come into my clinic and say, it's because I can't sleep, or I'm anxious, or I'm feeling these things. And when I ask how they feel, all they can do is talk about how they don't want to feel. And we know that that is not really very helpful for focusing your energy. I think the saying is, your energy flows where your focus goes. And we're going to talk a bit about Joe Dispenza as well in a minute. But Lesia, do you want to just explain either the method, the exchange method, or some of the ways your clients have used it? Because they're both really exciting conversations. Where would you rather start?
Oh, brilliantly. I would love to start with the algorithm, how we use the exchange method. But before, I would like to add a little bit about what you just said, that for so many of us, we are programmed to react. And that's because so many people, they operate only in the physical world. They don't control their thoughts. They don't even know who they are. And of course, we are conditioned, we are programmed to react. And what we offer our students, our clients, is a completely different approach. When we actually allow them and give them the skill, teach them how to start managing your thoughts. And this is the most important skill, not only for manifestation, but in life in general. Because can we imagine the quality of our life when we choose our reactions, when nothing can provoke, trigger us, nobody, neither a person, neither a situation, but we can choose how we feel, and therefore what do we attract. And now I would love to share this manifestation technique, which changed my life once. Because back at that moment in my life, and it was my no return point, I was desperate to change my life. I was desperately searching for ways. However, it was so challenging to overcome my past because I kept reacting to things I didn't like. And I didn't understand why nothing would change in my life. And that moment, I met my own manifestation coach, and she was brilliant. However, she explained me that in actuality, you can't attract things to a broken life. You need to heal and overcome your past first. And I explained here that I was losing my belief in the power of manifestation because I didn't see any evidences in my reality. And then she introduced me to the brilliant exchange method of manifestation, which is based on managing our thoughts and making a powerful promise. And so, how do we use this method? It is a method based on the principle of a commitment when we make one specific powerful promise to ourselves. And I'll explain it by sharing some examples because it's so easier for us to learn from stories. I believe so many of us heard that billionaires wake up at 4 a.m. There is this concept very popular on the internet. And the question was why? And in actuality, these successful, talented people wake up so early, consistently, not because they're busy, but because they understand that once they win their own body, once they discipline their body, they show who is the boss here, not these reactions and emotions which sometimes just make us snap on someone we love and guide us in the opposite direction from what we want. So when waking up so early, they can win their body, and if they can do this, if they can overcome themselves, then they can win the world, and they do it. And the key is that every early morning we manifest because we make that important choice. And here I'll ask Lindsay. I would love to ask you if you'd like to share with us what are your favorite morning habit or something you do early every morning that helps you be in control of how you feel, that helps you manage your mood. What is it for you?
Well, thank you for letting me share that because, as you know, I'm a massive fan of cold water swimming. And I try and go every day because daily habits are the way we build healthy, productive, and successful routines. And if I haven't been in the cold water, I really try and make sure that I do some sort of stillness practice. prayer or meditation or both. Because without being still, we can't focus our energy on what it is we want. When we're running, we're just focusing on fighting fires or moving as quickly as possible. And for me, that experience of cold water is a reset point, but it's something that has to be done almost every day, a bit like brushing your teeth. And you're so right. In order to achieve success, we must discipline the mind and the body. And I'm massively susceptible to anxiety. I've got a history of depression. And if I let my mind run crazy, not only does it tell terrible fibs and stories to myself, but it really becomes a sort of being of its own. So that is so important to me that on a daily basis, I manage and discipline my mind and my body, both physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Thank you for sharing this. It is so important for every one of us to hear that yes, if we don't manage our body, then when if we don't control our mind, the mind controls us then, and it can tell us so many narratives, so many stories, which make us feel then so miserable. And that's something we just need to accept and be thankful that we have tools to manage it. For you, it's your lifestyle. You know how it works for you. And you'll be able to create the quality of life for yourself when you're enjoying it. I see you after this cold plunges, and I know how happy you are as a person now because you've built it for yourself. And for so many people, it's so challenging to maintain this healthy, uncomfortable habits. I had
Yes.
a student who she used the exchange method of manifestation, committed to cold shower every morning, which is uncomfortable as well. And for her, it was so challenging, but she would make herself do it every morning for 21 days only. That's how we use this manifestation technique. And in 21 days, not only she started feeling more calm, unbothered, and just more in control of her reactions. And second of all, she manifested growing revenue in her business. These
Mm,
things are not related at all, but this is how the exchange method works. When we make these commitments to ourselves and keep them, suddenly some aspects of our life start to get better, start to improve. And if we do it consciously, then we can make quantum leaps by making and keeping these promises to ourselves.
yes.
And I am sure that each and every one of our listeners have tried it in their lives. Yeah, Lindsay.
The biggest challenge people have, of course, is maintaining a 21-day commitment. And we see this in personal lives, we see this in addiction models, and we just see it in daily habits. How hard is it for your clients, and obviously they've got your help, to get to 21 days?
Here, it is uncomfortable, it is frictional to do this every day. However, the beauty of this manifestation technique is that we are keeping this commitment. For example, to quit sugar for 21 days, to do a social media detox for 21 days, etc. We are doing it not only for health, for better inner freedom, we are also doing it for manifestation. The key is to understand that this promise with an intention set that, for example, as my student from Australia recently did, she committed to 21 days without sugar to manifest getting a new, better paying job. She
Mm,
manifested it in just 14 days, but she did not give up exactly because she knew it's not only for her health, it's not only a detoxifying process, it's also to shift herself to a new timeline where she
yeah.
received that dream job.
And the reason that people come to work with you and with I is because we're here to be alongside them for those 21 days and beyond, to give them that support. And I often say it's cheerleading. My job isn't to do the work for you. In sophrology, it simply doesn't work like that. And it certainly doesn't with manifestation coaching. But our job is to be accompanying our client as their cheerleader to help them get that commitment, that focus, and whatever it is they've said they're going to do because their attention is on what they want for the full 21 days. In your case, it's 21 days. In my case, I work with clients on a 12-week basis because we're trying to embed those habits for life and they come back to them every day. And I know a lot of people have perhaps a personal trainer, or they might have a nutritionist, or they might think about their physical body. But this is a new era, a new age where we're talking about coaching from a mental, physical, and emotional perspective. And that's really exciting for you and I.
Absolutely, absolutely agree. And I love what you just said that we do brush our teeth every day. Why do we forget to brush our mind as well? To have purity, cleanness here, then everything works out so much easier for us.
It
That's so
does.
critical.
And you've just brought to mind a Tai Chi practice because I've just had the beauty of interviewing George, who is a Tai Chi expert and also a filmmaker. And one of the Tai Chi principles, and this is very, very old, is brushing ourselves off
Mm.
energetically. And the East knows that these practices are very, very important. But in the West, we seem to have fallen into this sort of external fix. Fix me from the outside. Give me a tablet. Tell me what to do. The work is on the inside. You and I know this. And you and I have had our personal rock bottoms. You talked about that moment, the point of no return. And as much as I don't wish that on people, there has to be a recognition from the individual that this is my rock bottom and now I need to get out of this. And here is a coach, like the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, who is going to help me, show me the way and accompany me on this journey.
Absolutely, yeah. And in that moment of the rock bottom, we just need to do something very brave. And this bravery will not feel good in the moment, but afterwards it will feel so good, and there will be so much gratitude to yourself. And one of the things which I did when I was in that moment, I would make a commitment to myself, an unwavering commitment. And the exchange method of manifestation was my something that saved me. I committed to
Mm.
waking up at 4 a.m. for 21 days, and not only it helped me manifest miracles in my life and all the things I wanted, one by one started manifesting in my reality. And also, I felt that I am finally in control of who I am because so many people they want to achieve things, they get motivated, they set goals, get excited, then they go to bed, and when they wake up, they snooze the alarm. They go back to sleep because the body says, let's start tomorrow. And it's so challenging to overcome the comfort of the body. So people break commitments to themselves. And that is why
Yes.
blocking their own manifestation.
I love that you're talking about that because that leads me on to one of my favourite subjects, that sort of evolutionary psychology and evolutionary behaviour. We're programmed to save energy. We're programmed to be lazy, so we've got the energy we need to run away from the attack of the wolves or whatever might appear as we're living in our caves as these sort of tribal people. And of course, that stays in us. We're designed to eat as much when it comes because of the scarcity of food. We're designed to be alert, to fear, to protect ourselves. And we're designed to not use energy in case we need it for an attack. But of course, in today's world, that doesn't work. So we have to do this override to get ourselves to where we want to be. And people find that incredibly challenging. I love the fact that you say waking up early because I'm hoping that where you're based in Dubai, waking up early might be a pleasant experience. It might be a little bit cooler. The sun might be coming up and it feels sort of energizing. Where I am at the moment in the French Alps, you'd be getting up in the pitch black and it would be freezing cold. And my clients, their biggest challenge actually is going to bed. But if a client goes to bed at 10 o'clock every night for 21 days, their lives are transformed totally in every way. It is that simple, Lesia, isn't it?
Wow, it is, absolutely is. And it is even more challenging to wake up in these conditions when it's dark and freezing. However, then it means that it's even more frictional, even more willpower is required, which means that then we can manifest a bigger goal in exchange, in return. The more energy we invest into this healthy habit, the bigger is the reward we receive. And then, how do we use the exchange method of manifestation? Step one is to choose a goal, and I encourage to choose our listeners to just one life aspect where you want to see improvement in. We all
Mm,
have a focus area where we would love to make that quantum leap to finally where we want to be. It might be career, it might be just finances, it might be family and meeting those right people, and it might be health. And by just choosing this area which we want to improve, we move to the second step where we choose the commitment, which might be going to bed at 10 o'clock every day for 21 days, which is
mm.
uncomfortable. We will need to discipline ourselves. It might be waking up in an uncomfortable time daily at 5 a.m., for example, 6 a.m. My student from the US wakes up at 6:30 a.m. because for her it is uncomfortable. It's not 4
Yes.
a.m., it's 6:30 because she used to wake up at 10 and now she disciplines herself. And with this commitment, she has already manifested her dream car. Now she wants to manifest more, so she is continuing. So our step 2 is to choose a habit to commit to for 21 days. It can be as simple as reading 10 pages of a book every day. It can be as simple as quitting sugar, digital detox. It can be daily Pilates. My student from the UK is doing daily Pilates to manifest her husband getting promotion at his job. That's her priority. She wants his success. So she is helping him energetically. And then step 3 is to choose and set an intention. Just a comment for the brain that I am going to be waking up at 6 a.m. for the next 21 days, and I redirect this energy to grow financially. That's it. It's so simple. However, it is extremely powerful.
It's so simple, yet people don't do it. And I just love the fact that you and I are in the same space saying, it's obvious. Just go to bed every day at this time. Just wake up at this time. Just focus on your mind body. Whatever this thing is, you just need to know what it is you're focusing your effort on. It has to have a level of friction, challenge, and discomfort. There has to be a level of simplicity to achieving it. And it has to be attached to an improvement that you're seeking in your life. Does that sound like a reasonable summary of what we're talking about here?
Sounds like a brilliant summary. And I would love, Lindsey, if you would explain our listeners what practical tool can we share just to help those who really want to start do something for 21 days.
Yes, we've talked about this a lot. What can we leave people with as a gift from you and I to help them get started on their own journey? What we're going to do today and record separately as a download is a 5-minute breathing exercise that's based in the sophrology principles of the ISP. And what we're going to do is record an audio with some video that allows people to go through that process of exchange, to start focusing their energy and their efforts on what it is they do want. And I'm so excited that we're getting to do that together, because yours and my mission in life, our message, our purpose is so aligned. Nobody wants to see other people suffering. And it breaks my heart, and I know it breaks yours as well, when we say to people, can I just explain to you how this worked for me? But you can do the same in whatever situation you're in. And of course, the biggest challenge this year is when people say, well, Lindsey, I just can't go to bed at 10 o'clock every night because of blah, blah, blah. Or I just can't do blah, blah, blah because of blah, blah, blah. And I think, well, then we need to find the thing that you can do, which is still, like you say, has enough friction to create some discomfort to make it worthwhile. And I love those words. Lesia, what do you do when you're beginning to talk to a client and they start saying, well, I can't because, and we're in that victim and blame mindset?
Well, I usually explain my clients that I share some examples of people who would start at the same point when everything felt super difficult, and they would choose one habit for 21 days and they would shift themselves to a new version of themselves. And as our teacher, Dr. Joe Dispenza, says, you can create your new reality only once you create your new personality. And I'm excited to create this tool together with you, because then our listeners can just finally apply and get the reward.
Yes. And I think what's always important about the kind of work that you and I do is we really want people just to benefit. Of course, there's a business model behind it. You and I both get paid when we're working with people. But our heart really is for people who can accessing this, however is right for them. And they're just able to start thinking, okay, I am human and I can do this, because we're so powerful, and the world and life is so fantastic. We have most of the time everything we need. We just need to step in to what is available to us.
Brilliantly said.
Shall we talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza? Because you and I are huge fans of his work, and I came to sophrology years ago through a journey with the work of Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, who are globally renowned scientists who are talking about the energetic principles of behavior, especially perspective, meditation, and personal internal power. How did you come across Joe Dispenza, and what would you say to people who don't know anything about his work?
Well, Dr. Joe Dispenza is, as you said, a scientist who helps people understand the connection between the spirituality, manifestation, and science. It is so complementary. And for me, my husband would once gift me a book of Dr. Joe Dispenza, the brilliant book which is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Sounds unusual, however, most of us, it is exactly what we need to do. Break the habit of being the old self to create not only the new it's a version of yourself, but also the new reality. And Dr.
Mm.
Joe explains the things. I love that his message is do the work daily. It's so aligned with what we're talking about today. When you do the work daily, then the reward is waiting for you.
Absolutely. And for those who don't know, there are thousands of people following Joe Dispenza's work across the globe. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's millions. And I happen to dial into, I think, your group in Dubai. I've also accessed a group in London. These are online groups who are really sharing the teachings because it's bringing us back to being human. It's coming back to those principles of how we were made. And there's a verse here that I'd love to share with you because I thought it just describes what we're talking about. And the verse that I love is, "For he knows the plans he has for you, plans to prosper and not to harm you." But of course, we think that there is no plan, or sometimes we think that we should have the plan. The reality is that the universe is setting it out, but we do have to be willing and step into this reality.
The universe is so intelligent, yeah. We just need to do the work. You just need to know who you are, and the plan exists for you. That's how I understand this, and that's what so many people feel like they don't know what to do. But they just need to know who they are. They just need to become that version of themselves who loves life, who loves themselves, who is in harmony. And then the path is being created.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful method. There are hundreds of other things we could talk about because the work that you do is so interesting and it's so aligned with the East and the West, where we have this intersection of the mind and the body. And I could talk, of course, about sophrology every day, but the most important thing, the first step in sophrology, is really just taking that pause and being still. The exercise that you and I are going to record really leads people into that process. But before we end our conversation and go into providing that resource for people, you've got some stories of people who've manifested some really fantastic results. In particular, I think one of your female clients who ended up having a baby. Is that right, Lesia?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love for us to finish this beautiful conversation with some inspiring stories of those
Yes,
people who
please.
didn't make anything extraordinary, but they would just commit to a healthy habit, keep the promise to themselves, and receive the manifestation they wanted for years. One of the examples is yes, my student who couldn't get pregnant for so many years. And then when she decided to become vegan, to change her lifestyle in this way, couple months later she would become pregnant and now she has two beautiful sons. And some people will say it's because she changed her eating habits, but others will say that it's not healthy, it's not good for you. Opinions are so controversial, which just shows us that it's not about what you do. It's about changing your lifestyle, committing to a habit which can benefit you, and by keeping the habit, you can attract what you desire. That is an example which just shows us how beautiful are the things we can attract, which we couldn't attract for years. Another example was when my student wanted to move abroad from Yemen, from quite a conservative country where she did not feel free, even though she was born here, she did not feel that it's her place. She really wanted to manifest moving to Europe, and she manifested moving to her dream country, Switzerland, by a simple commitment she made to herself and kept to make herself a healthy breakfast every morning. It required waking up a little bit earlier and keeping the promise every day, but because she kept it, 7 days later, the opportunity found her and she was invited to go to Switzerland, and now she lives in the country of her dreams. The stories are so beautiful because so many of us want to change the location, to finally start living fully. And sometimes we need just one shift in energy. And the
Yeah.
exchange method helps to make it.
One of the biggest mistakes you and I have talked about that we see clients making, and we make ourselves, is we go from, I want this, therefore I will do that. And we take a very controlled and manipulating approach to the process. And that's not how this energetic exchange method works. Can you just tell me a little bit about what to do about that? Because we do get into this sort of controlling, planning, manipulating, minutiae type mindset. What do you say to people that are in that? They sort of jump ahead into, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this.
Yeah, brilliant question. This approach is not common at all because what we were taught is that we need to take the step towards this goal. But what do we do if we would try everything? We would use affirmations, we would work hard, we would hire experts, we would fire experts, and then nothing would change. What do we do then? Then we need something energetical to shift ourselves to the lifeline where we finally receive it. And for these big goals, which haven't been accomplished in years. We need to do something which would change who we are. And here
Mm,
is what the exchange method does for us. It helps us to move to make this breakthrough
yeah.
by exchanging energy.
I also see a lot of people who really subconsciously don't think they're worthy of receiving. And there's that, I'm not worthy of receiving this, which of course blocks the energy totally. How common do you find that in your clients?
Yeah, it does. It is one of the blockages for sure. However, as I noticed, if every one of us has such limited belief about ourselves. And that's beautiful that we understand it, because by overcoming this belief, this self-doubt, this unworthiness, such doors open that we feel so grateful to ourselves afterwards. And of course, we don't receive in life more than we believe we deserve. And even if sometimes a person would receive something big, but if this person doesn't feel worthy, he or she will end up losing that relationships or that big financial win they would have because they don't feel worthy. That's how it works. And the power of again the exchange method of manifestation is that we become disciplined, and discipline makes us trust ourselves more. And self-trust is self-confidence, and self-confidence eventually makes us feel more worthy because we feel more powerful. If we make a promise to ourselves, we keep it. It's unshakable. And that's one of the ways to help ourselves feel more worthy.
I think if, as well is the reality, if we can't keep the promises we make to ourselves, how you do one thing is how you do everything. You then probably can't keep your promises to the rest of the world either. And that's a really difficult conversation. But we do have to keep our promises to ourselves. We do have to discipline and disciple ourselves with the power of the universe or your own belief in whatever your higher power or God is. And I do think we've missed that sometimes. We're looking for the external fix. What pill can I take, Lindsey? What supplement? What program can I go on? What retreat can I go on? You've got to do the work inside yourself. And you and I have walked this path. Um, for people that haven't seen your community yet and they don't know how to contact you or engage, Love Energy Success is the group that you run. Can you just tell listeners and viewers how they can access that? Because you're very generous hearted with the work that you do and people coming into that community.
Thank you, Lindsay. A couple of years ago, when I started sharing this technique with English-speaking world, because it was not very popular back then,
Mm.
I created a Facebook group. It's a support group for practitioners of this technique from all over the world. And I believe it's a good place to start to see what other people manifest and to start doing your own exchange with the support of the exercise which we will share today. And a couple of words about what you just said, that sometimes people look for something, look for a new retreat, look for a new teacher, and they forget that they need to do the work. And it's also important to know that in the modern world there is so much noise and misinformation, so much noise of people even having controversial opinions on how you should achieve your goals, how you should live, how you should manifest things. Some people would say with with a very materialistic approach, people with such worldview, they would say you need to do step by step and then you get there. And others will tell you that you just need to visualize, which are both not true, not enough to finally get there. And that's why, as a final note, I would encourage our listeners to, first of all, think about how they can maintain this cleanness in their informational space. How can they declutter their space from the noise of misinformation?
Mm.
And second of all, I would encourage our students, our listeners, to try the exercise which we will share. in the next this downloadable file, which can be a great way to try this manifestation technique and finally see the shift in their reality. And we will explain how it works in that file. But now this is what I would love those who really want to start to do.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. So the Facebook group Love Energy Success, people can find you on Instagram, and we're going to put those links obviously in the show notes. So I'm just going to close with a proverb, and then we're going to go into recording the separate file for people to use. So I just love people to remember that the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. And that's a very, very old proverb that just gives us an insight into what we've known for centuries. But here we are, like you say, in the noise, in the chaos of 2024. And I hope people that will find some comfort in what we're about to share. So, Lesia, thank you so much for your time today.
It was extraordinary. Thank you for sharing your time with me.